the suit or not. So it's possible he could have had tattoos, but there was like no facial tattoos or anything. So there's a lot of people who were kind of miffed at this idea. And, this kind of makes sense, but there's a lot of people who were mad. And then one of the things that, I found interesting is people were mad and saying, no, this cannot be, because it was the original Joker who had a relationship with Harley Quinn, and that is their big argument for why, this cannot be possible. It also should be pointed out that Jared Leto is about the same age as Ben Affleck. And, all the Robins would have probably been 10 to 15 years younger at the most, or at the oldest.
Yeah, no, it is an interesting theory, but at the same point, Jared Leto makes Joker look older, in a sense. So, it's hard to take this either which way. What I do find interesting, though, is we all know DC isn't exactly immune to hearing all these rumors, to knowing all about it.
If nothing else, this is this is good for them because people are talking about it.
But, they are not coming out and denying it. They're not coming out and agreeing to it. So it makes this get even worse because with them not coming out to deny it, it's almost seeming as if this theory is actually how they were taking it.
Well, and here's the thing. From what I understand, the writers of Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad actually went off and took a lot of the information and a lot of their ideas from the Dark Knight comic series by Frank Miller. And in Frank Miller's Dark Knight, Dick Grayson, who was the first Robin, becomes the new Joker. Now, it should be interesting because you note that in almost every Robin has ended up at one point or another either works with the Joker or has emulated the Joker. Jason Todd, who was the second, he actually was presumed to be dead and came back as the Red Hood, which was
Joker's persona.
Joker's persona before he went completely nuts. Presumably. And this is going back to the Killing Joke, where Barbara Gordon is shot in the spine and becomes crippled. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but the third Robin actually gets beaten down by the Joker and eventually becomes the Joker's protege. So it's almost every Joker has eventually, almost every person who has been the Robin has
become the Joker.
Has become, the Joker or the Joker's sidekick in some way or another. Now, I know we're talking about Dick Grayson here and, how that is completely different and not necessarily on the same level. I don't know. The words aren't coming to me, but, a lot of people aren't taking it as the gospel of Batman. Although, we mentioned a couple weeks ago that Frank Miller is in the midst of actually doing a Dark Knight 3.
Yes.
Which could be very interesting. And what it is it's Bruce Wayne is dead, and those that were with him are trying to continue the Batman legacy.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's almost seeming like they're taking this. They're dipping very deep into the Batman archives, and Jason Todd wouldn't be a very deep archive to dig into.
Well, no, absolutely not. I think it's really interesting because if you look at it, almost Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, almost all the male Robins, because there's actually been a couple of females,
which will not be named.
Well, we won't bring them up at this point, anyways, because it really is taking away from the show at this point, anyway. But, they've all been both the Joker, and they've all, at one point or another, tried to take on the mantle of Batman when Bruce Wayne was presumed to be dead.
Yes.
So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if, at least, that this is one of the former Robins, not necessarily Jason Todd. Maybe it's Dick Grayson.
Now, wouldn't it be an interesting theory that the Batman in Batman v Superman isn't actually Batman, but instead a Robin becoming Batman?
Yeah, I don't. That I think might be a little bit too far of a stretch.
You know, I think it's a really good stretch. If we're gonna stretch into the Jason Todd becoming Joker,
well, again, it's a great story. It's a great idea. You know what? And I know there's a lot of people who are really mad at the idea because they want people to stay. You know, these writers and these directors to stay, you know, with the actual comic books and stay loyal to it.
But see, that's the thing, though. Like, if, you know, they want these writers and directors and producers to stay with the comic books, doing the Jason Todd Joker is the perfect way to stay with comic books. He was a very, you know, focal point in a lot of the comic books.
He was the Red Hood. He was never actually the Joker. And honestly, if you look at the comics, you know, a lot of the stuff that he does after is discovered that he is, in fact, the Red Hood, he was almost kind of jealous of the other Robins because, I mean, he was, you know, Bruce Wayne's adopted son. And so when Bruce's actual son, Damian, shows up, who is the current Robin now in the comic books, he gets, you know, really jealous, and there's actually kind of a interesting love-hate relationship between Jason and Damian in the comics. But at the same time, it's in almost like some of the Robins are fighting for Bruce's attention here.
Well, wouldn't you want to fight for Bruce's attention? Look at the money he has.
I think they're more interested in his love than anything. I don't know, though.
Well, that just sounds wrong. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, again, if you look at them, I mean, Dick Grayson was once his ward, so that was sort of his son. Jason Todd was, you know, is legally his son. Damian is biologically his son.
Well, you know what? There's an issue here.
Just one?
Yeah. Batman needs to stop having kids.
Or stop taking in young boys. You know, there's a Michael Jackson joke in here somewhere.
I had one and you just took it away from me. It's the Michael Jackson without singing. No.
And I don't know. Before we completely walk away from this, I have one more Batman reference that I just think is absolutely hilarious. Donald Trump. You know, who, at least right now, it looks like the Republican Party is going to end up nominating to run for president of the United States next year.
The world has gone to hell.
He apparently was on a helicopter ride with some kids, and the kids went off and, you know, made reference to, you know, how he was a billionaire and Bruce Wayne's a millionaire and everything. And so they asked him if he was Batman. And Donald Trump went on record to say, "I am Batman." And he apparently has said this a couple of times now. And it's kind of ridiculous. And, I mean, to me, honestly, I think the whole idea of Donald Trump running for the Republican Party is kind of ridiculous. But apparently, you know, Americans don't necessarily think so. Who knows? Maybe they're just so sick and tired of the politicians that they've had that, you know, a guy like Donald Trump, who, you know, at least in the business world, is extremely intelligent, but everywhere else seems to be a complete moron.
Oh yeah, he
seems like a good idea.
He runs a business propped up by Mexicans, and the first thing he says when he starts running for office is against Mexicans. It just seems like a bad business and political move. But
and here's the thing, you know, Vince McMahon, who is one of his best friends, went off and completely blacklisted one of the biggest legends in professional wrestling for going off and using the N-word. And making, you know, racial remarks about African Americans. So I think, you know, there's something not quite right here.
Yeah, I was waiting how many episodes it would take for us to bring up the Hulk Hogan. But anyways, speaking of wrestling, before we end up closing out the show, SummerSlam is the special host
for
special
SummerSlam,
host is going to be.
Sorry, I was going to just step on there. For those people who don't know, SummerSlam is going to be this Sunday. It's going to be a 4-hour special event. And, yes, and it's going to be hosted by Jon Stewart.
Yes, Jon Stewart, the former host of The Tonight Show.
Not The Tonight Show, The Daily Show.
I was thinking Daily Show, and I'm like, nah, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it was The Daily Show, and we referenced this last week. Steve Amell, who plays Oliver Queen on Arrow, he will be featured in a tag team matchup at the show as well. Yeah,
and you all know, first and foremost, wrestling events mean an extra show for us.
That's right. And so on this Sunday's episode, Big Mike will be joining us again. And actually, we might have an extra buy on the show. My friend, Sweet AD, Derek Inman, might be joining us as well for that evening. I'm not quite sure at this point.
Our producers have failed to update me on that. I'm going to fire my producers.
Our producers apologize.
No, they don't. Our producers are idiots. I can say that because they can't fire me.
Without us, there would be no show.
Without the show, there would be no us.
Yes, there would be. Just when you're spending a lot more time without my mask on.
And I would be spending more time... No, I'd be doing the exact same stuff.
Exactly.
So, we're going to wrap up the show. Thank you to all our listeners who haven't been talking. We know you're there. I can hear you breathing.
That's kind of creepy.
I'm in their bedrooms. I'm in their closets.
Under their beds, exit that.
I'm trying on their dresses. And considering we have male viewers, you guys are sick.
Yeah, you're very twisted people. Shame on you.
Yeah. Stop putting dresses in your closets. So anyways, you can follow me on Twitter.
Take a minute to calm down.
At Real CAPT Fizz, so at Real Captain Fizz.
You can follow this guy over here at That Mask Guy. Of course, you can follow the show at Fizz Mask Show. If you like, you can look up the YouTube versions of our podcast at the Captain Fizz and Mask Guy Show. I'm going to come over there and punch you pretty soon before trying to crack me up. We're also on Tumblr and on Facebook. Not a lot going over there right now. Even YouTube is still a little muddled up because, well, I haven't spent a lot of time there.
And I keep forgetting that we have YouTube.
Yes. Okay. So, I wish I could tell you guys what we're going to be doing on the next show, but honestly, we never know what we're going to do on the next show until we actually, start.
We rarely know what we're going to do on this show.
Exactly. Although I really feel kind of mad that we didn't, talk at all about D23 or, particularly Star Wars. So maybe we'll have to talk, some Star Wars on the next episode.
We're lacking on the Star Wars department.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm a little Star Wars out here, man. I need my fix.
No.
Come on, man. I need my fix.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up officially. Thank you all for listening.
So, yeah, and the words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime and in between time, good night, God bless, and may the force be with you.
He's going to kill me. I keep making him laugh. All right, stay frosty, my people. Good night.
Good night.